Heartache, A Woman and the Civil War. Executive produced by Roberta Gibson Pevear. The Honorable Roberta Pevear, co-author of Write Quick, War and a Woman's Life in Letters, 1835 to 1867, has announced that Heartache, A Woman and the Civil War is presently in development. The documentary film tells the timeless love story of two lovers and their tragic deaths. Based on the correspondence and documents chronicled in Write Quick, the film provides an intimate perspective on the role of women in Civil War history. Numberless documentaries have been done on the Civil War. How many, though, have told a woman's story? Eliza Bean's tale of hardship and heartache, fortune and fortitude fills a chasm in the historical canon, exploring how women also suffered during the Civil War. In the 1800s, it was a struggle merely to survive. If the crops failed, you died. If you got sick, you died. But for Eliza and her husband Henry, their lives were cut short, not by disease or famine, but by circumstances of the era they lived in. These star-crossed lovers were both condemned to early death by the unfortunate happenstance to be born in the mid-19th century. He by civil war and she by work, an inevitable death sentence in the textile mills. The appalling environment in New England mills created a groundswell of support to change conditions for working women. A great feminist awakening slowly replaced the stultifying doctrine of the so-called true woman dominant at the time. Eliza and Henry were simple people. They would probably be surprised and perhaps a little embarrassed at the notion that filmmakers in the far-flung future would commemorate their sacrifices, or that Eliza's descendant, Roberta Gibson Pevear, would resurrect Eliza's life and present her story to the world. This documentary is a chance for Eliza's dramatic story to be told, a way for Eliza and her intrepid husband Henry, whose lives were cut short far too soon, to live again. At age 17, Eliza Bean was issued a death sentence. Eliza Bean's verdict did not come from any court of law, but from being condemned to work in the textile mills, tuberculosis-infected hellholes of the Industrial Revolution. For these young women, who had little choice but to work there, 7 out of 10 faced an early grave from TB or inhaling fly, a noxious combination of loose cotton as deadly as coal dust or asbestos. These women, who spun yarn 13 hours a day, often became unmarriageable spinsters, a stolen youth sacrificed at the altar of corporate profit. One investigator of the time called it industrial tyranny, a more profitable slavery than that of the South. Although women who toiled in the mills would not live to benefit from it, these horrific conditions for working women sparked a new era of organized labor and women's rights, led by notable leaders like Elizabeth Cady Stanton and Susan B. Anthony. The resiliency of the hardy Lowell mill girls was nothing less than astounding. Possibly to combat the mind-killing drudgery, they still found time for education. Many taught school on their only day off, and there were ways for these ingenious girls to court their boys who came looking. And so Eliza met him. Henry was young and handsome, a solid education, a good painter. Eliza's courtship gave her a reprieve from her sentence, freeing her from the robotic life at the mills. They were married in December 1856. Eliza was to bear Henry 2 children, George and Henrietta. Life was good, but their idyllic existence in Lowell, Massachusetts was not to last. A hurricane wind was blowing across the land. At a time when the U.S. population was 13 times smaller than it is today, the Civil War caused far more death than any other conflict in American history. Her loving companion was swept away, caught in the maelstrom. 2.5 years she waited, and their love was real. Henry penned over 70 letters to Eliza, and she many more. The letters and the hope sustained her through unspeakable hardship and near starvation at times. Eliza chopped wood, hauled ash, and sewed piecework for pennies in the half-light of oil lamps in bitter New England cold. She lived with fear, worry, heartbroken loneliness. Then after 2.5 years, he returned, but it was only a furlough. Henry had re-enlisted and was to return to war in a month. After Henry was temporarily posted to a nearby fort, he finagled a leave and came to see her once again. It was the last time she ever saw him alive. Executive producer Roberta Charlotte Gibson Pevear is a genealogist and author who published Write Quick, War and a Woman's Life in Letters, 1835 to 1867. Right Quick is the poignant, real-life story of Eliza Bean, a mill girl, married woman, mother, war widow, and victim of consumption. Eliza's story was compiled from her diary and a trove of letters from her brother and from her husband Henry when he was fighting for the Union Army in the Civil War. Miss Pevear is Eliza's great-granddaughter. Now retired, Miss Pevear served in the New Hampshire State Legislature 1979 to 1988. She was Civil Defense Director of Hampton Falls, Commissioner of the Rockingham County Planning Commission, and Commissioner of the New Hampshire Planning Commission. Miss Pevear is listed in Who's Who in the World and Who's Who in America, and was recently recognized as VIP Woman of the Year by the National Association of Professional Women. For more information on the current status of the project, please contact Roberta Pevear at 603-772-0326 or visit robertapevear.com.